So here at Aardvark, we have a process which we use to help our clients work out exactly what their competitive advantage is and to try and exploit it in the marketplace. And there's 7 steps around the wheel, starting with the fairly obvious ones. And some people think, oh, we can just tick that off in 5 minutes, that's really easy. But actually it's interesting when you start delving down a bit deeper. So first of all, your customers. Do you really understand who your customers are? Do you really understand why they come to you and why they don't go anywhere else, or why they're prepared to pay more for your product or service? That's the first one. The second section is looking at your competitors. And again, if you just ask a business person who are their competitors, they'll probably reel off quite quickly who their direct competition is. But competition might be people that do a slightly different product or service which solves that problem in a slightly different way. So it's widening that thought process about who actually is competing with you. And quite often there's another option that people don't consider at all. People aren't buying your product or service because they're actually going to do nothing, and they're not incentivized enough to do anything about solving this problem. It's not a big enough pain for them to want to actually do something about. So understanding your customers and your competitors is the first place that we start. So once we've got an understanding of that, and you obviously understand your product or your service, what we're now looking for is the differences. So what's out there that your competitors are providing? What are my product or service delivering? And what are the things that are significantly different or even slightly different? And in some businesses, it can be as simple as, I like to deal, in a small business particularly, I like to deal with this business owner. This business owner has a good relationship with me. They're great to deal with. They're always here when I need them. They turn things around quickly, and it can just be great customer service. But that's not what they're just saying. That actually is in reality. They do get great customer service from a small business. And quite often a family business will have a reputation for great customer service as well, because we're small enough to have fewer customers, and we do take good care of them. That does tend to be the case. We've put together a list. It might have 2 or 3 things. It might be a longer list of things that are genuinely different about your product or your service, or you think are genuinely different about your product or your service. So the next step is to try and get some evidence for what's different. So it's all very well as a small business, and lots of people say this, we give great customer service. But if you look at a website of your competitors and you find that every single website says, we give great customer service, then that might not be a differentiator, or at least it won't be a differentiator in somebody coming to your website for the first time. If everybody says that on their website, or everybody says that when you meet them at that trade exhibition, then a prospective customer will just discount it. It's what we refer to at Aardvark as table stakes. If you don't have great customer service, you're not even worthy of a conversation with me. So table stakes are what everybody does, and we discount it, and we won't pay any more for something that we assume is going to be there as part of the product or service. So we have our list, and we have some things that we think could provide some evidence of really what's different and what will excite customers. So it could be that you provide evidence with something as simple as an in-depth case study. If you've got a customer that you've dealt with a long time, you're getting some really good results, you're making their process or their life easier, and they're adding value to their business model, then chances are they're going to stay working with you. They're going to be a customer for life. They love what you're doing. These are the people that are valuable to get case studies from. So we're getting their real view of what you do and how you add value to their business in a very specific way, and you're getting it in language that your customer would use. So as a marketeer, I can sit down with a business owner and say, well, they might say this and they might say that, but we're going to use words that I would use or that the business owner would use. What you get when you talk to customers in depth and you give them time to think about what it is they like about your product or service, you will get answers that's in their language. And that's really powerful when you want to talk to other prospective customers, because the chances are they will share that perspective of a customer looking into your business, not somebody in the business trying to guess at what their customers or prospective customers might be looking for. So this step which sometimes businesses miss out because they're a little bit fearful, if I'm honest. Quite often businesses are fearful of really talking to their customers. And I get hired quite often because I'm totally independent of that relationship. So I can come in and talk to a customer, they've been introduced to me, I can ask them certain questions and give them time to reflect on their experience of using your product or service. And they will tell me information that perhaps they wouldn't tell you. And quite often business owners are very surprised at the quality of the information that comes back. Because they're fearful of asking. They think they're going to get some very negative feedback. And the reality is, for most small businesses, this is a very positive feedback and information that they're getting. So that whole process of talking to customers can't be rushed. It's not a question of doing a little survey with 3 or 4 questions on an email and sending it out. That's not nearly in depth enough. What we're trying to get here is a valid view from your customers of exactly what those differentiators do for their business. And you can't do that with a quick tick box exercise on an email survey. So we've worked through our customers, we've worked through our competitors, we've looked at things that we think make us different, and then we've gone out to our marketplace, our existing customers, and we've tested that and we've validated that, and we have some evidence to support what the customer is appreciative about your product or your service. So we've done all of that before we get to what most people actually call marketing. So the next step is what most people refer to as marketing. It's the exploitation stage. So taking those differentiators, putting them in messages through the right channels that are going to talk to the right prospective customers, but talking to them in language that they will understand and they will appreciate, and they're much more likely to come to you and want to engage with you about using your product or service. There's one more section to our wheel. So this is going to assume the timescales are that we've done our marketing, we've obviously had a plan, we've implemented it, we've measured and monitored it, and we're feeding that back into the next plan, which is the useful business cycle. And the last step is exploitation. You might remember at the beginning of the video, I talked about investors and how they'd be interested in your competitive advantage so that it actually exists, but then they also want to know how long is that competitive advantage going to last. So do I invest in this business because they've got time to really exploit that advantage before the competitors catch up? So the last step is the staying ahead step. So yes, you have a great product or service. Yes, we've marketed it. We've got new customers coming in, the great customers. We're getting profitable business. Our business has grown, but don't forget that time has elapsed. And in that time, your competitors have seen what you're doing. They have time to alter their product or service, perhaps to get closer to you. So this isn't a process that stops. It isn't a one-off process. This is a cycle. It's a wheel. And we have to go back and we have to think at board level, at strategic level, about how we are going to stay ahead of our competitors in the future. So if you watched the length of this video, thank you for that. On the surface, this looks quite simple. Yeah, it's just 7 steps. I can sit down in an afternoon and I can work that out. The reality is, if your business is, you're ambitious to grow and you really want to do this properly, you need to spend time on each of those sections. And working with people like us who are experienced in that, who've done it before, can tell you what the pitfalls are, can help you ask the right questions and get the right answers, then why not give us a call?